That time my mom upended the dress code for my entire school, by user_aim_to_sneeze. When I was little, my mom sent me to a private/religious school. My family isn't religious, but they felt like I'd get a better education there, and when I switched to public school later I found they were right. I was pretty far ahead. This school had uniforms. Boys wore button-down shirts with the school logo and blue slacks, girls wore jumpers. My mom hated cleaning and ironing these white, button-down shirts every day. I was one of 4 kids. Kids play and get grass stains. The shirts were taking up a lot of her time. Finally, she gave up and bought a bunch of white polo shirts and started sending us to school in those. Admin had a conniption fit about it, and brought her in for a meeting. They opened the dress code rulebook and pointed out that these shirts were missing the logo, so they were in violation. My mom looked over the rules and confirmed that the lack of a logo was the only violation. They said yes. She thanked them and left, and the school probably thought it was over. Just to be petty, they sent a school-wide memo regarding the dress code. My mom took every polo shirt and stitched a homemade school logo onto them. It wasn't hard to do as the logo was just the school initials. Admin was furious, but during the next meeting realized their hands were tied. The memo piqued the curiosity of other parents, and they started asking my mom where she got the new school shirts. Apparently she wasn't the only one sick of ironing and getting grass stains out. Suddenly, I wasn't the only one wearing a polo shirt to school. The worst part for the school was that, despite tuition being pretty expensive, they also had a kickback deal going with a local clothing store for the uniforms. The store had a monopoly on the sale of those shirts. When business started lagging, the store made their own version of the polos for sale. Eventually the original shirts were phased out entirely. That was over 30 years ago, and my mom still loves telling that story. Edit: I'm cracking up at some of you calling my mom a Karen and clutching your pearls about the poor school losing revenue. You guys are acting like they had to put the school mascot down after they didn't make their nut on uniform kickbacks. I can assure you, they were, and still are, making money hand over fist and doing just fine. You guys typically side with the HOA as well when you read those stories? Malicious Compliance, by user_seaweed4815. I used to work at a mid-sized company where our department had its own supply closet. Everyone knew the rules: take what you need, don't hoard, and keep the area tidy. Simple enough, right? Apparently not for our new micromanaging office manager, Karen. Karen was obsessed with cutting costs. She'd swoop in like a hawk every morning, inspecting the supply closet. If a box of pens was a little lighter or the post-its weren't perfectly aligned, we'd get a stern email about unnecessary consumption. She even implemented a sign-out sheet for supplies. Want a highlighter? Better justify it in writing. One day, Karen decided to escalate. She put a lock on the supply closet and declared herself the sole key holder. If anyone needed something, they had to email her and wait for her to approve the request. This was, of course, on top of her other duties, so getting a new pen could take hours. Needless to say, productivity started to suffer. Cue malicious compliance. A coworker of mine, Tom, was a bit of a prankster but always stayed within the rules. He decided to test Karen's new system to its limits. Every time he needed anything, no matter how small, he emailed Karen. Need a single paper clip? Email. Need to replace a dried-out marker? Email. Stapler jammed? You guessed it, email. Tom's meticulousness inspired the rest of us. Soon, the entire department was flooding Karen's inbox with individual requests. Since Karen insisted on handling every single one personally, she quickly became overwhelmed. Approving requests started taking days instead of hours. Meetings were delayed because people didn't have notebooks. Presentations stalled because someone was waiting for a dry erase marker. Management started noticing the bottleneck. Our department's performance metrics were plummeting, and everyone pointed the finger at the supply chain fiasco. Karen tried to defend her system, claiming we were being wasteful and needed structure, but the evidence was clear: her micromanagement was backfiring. After a particularly disastrous week, upper management stepped in. They not only revoked Karen's authority over the supply closet but also gave her a formal reprimand. The lock was removed, the sign-out sheet disappeared, and we went back to the honor system. Karen, humiliated, kept a low profile after that. As for us, we may have lost a week of productivity, but the petty satisfaction of watching Karen drown in her own bureaucracy was worth every second. I made freight late because you couldn't compromise, by user Rieko. So a few years ago I got back into truck driving after my daughter was around 2 to 3 years old. There weren't many companies who would take someone that had been out of the game that long, so I had to settle on one of the bigger companies. What a mistake that was. Before this I had no issue as professional truck driver, with having driver-facing, or inward-facing, cameras. I don't do anything illegal or stupid behind the wheel, so it didn't matter. It does now. This company had stuck the camera that faced inwards and outwards along the area where the visor would cover the windshield. As most things like this happen, it was a recordable offense to have the visor not only block the sun from laser beaming me in the face, but having the visor down blocked the camera. I got calls about it constantly. I asked them what I should do. Don't cover the camera. But the sun limits my vision. Don't cover the camera. I can't stick anything on the windshield to block the sun, this is unsafe. What do you want me to do? Don't block the camera. Can you move it somewhere else? No. How am I supposed to see during sunrise and sunset hours? Don't block the camera. It came down to them threatening my job and livelihood, that if I blocked the camera one more time, they'd to remotely deactivate the truck and force me out with a local police escort. So I started to find nice safe places to stop every single early morning and evening when I was driving, where the sun would come through the windshield. My dispatcher, understanding of a man that he is, asked me why loads were being late and why I was stopping so frequently for so many hours. So I told him. Safety wouldn't compromise and I can't freaking see out the window with the sun laser beaming me in the face. I'm not crashing into someone because a damned camera is being blocked when I haven't done anything to warrant this kind of abuse. I apologized to him but told him this would continue. He was able to schedule loads out to where I had the stopping time, but ultimately they fired me anyway after 5 months. Bonus. I was told I was unsafe, stupid, shouldn't drive a truck, should find work that fits a woman better, and that I wouldn't be hireable anywhere, even in those sketchy second chance companies where the pay, equipment, and safety is crap. Joke's on them. After 2 years of running for a company that treats me like I'm a human being and not some seat-warming robot, 4 of their little company trucks have been seen by little ole me in the ditch or median on I-29 this year after a 2-day winter storm. My truck? Still running. Currently waiting on unload. Don't want to reimburse me? Okay, by user Smoky Moon Man. I work as a breakfast cook for the largest hotel chain in the world at a 4-star, single-lettered hotel in the largest French-speaking province in Canada. Each cook is given a stipend of $200 to buy personal equipment, peelers, rasps, knives, etc. I bought a 7-inch non-stick, ceramic frying pan for myself. They have 7-inch Teflon pans here already, but due to people not taking care of them, they are mostly scratched. It is worth noting that our current chef was brought in to lower the costs of the kitchen, so our quality of food has gone down drastically. During the holiday break while I was off, they bought new egg pans, but they were 8 inches instead of our traditional 7. When I filed my receipt, I was told by HR that the pan I bought wouldn't be reimbursed. I paid $35 for it. They told me that the hotel is supposed to cover the cost of pans, so too bad, so sad. Okay, fine then. I will use your larger pans for omelets. Now, our omelets are too big for the plates and I have to use more inventory to make the omelets look like we aren't skimping on our product. Good thing you guys wouldn't pay me back for the pan that costs half the price of what you bought the new pans for at a larger size and cost. And now I have a nice egg pan for at home. Whenever whatever. Oh, you're charging me for excess baggage? Challenge accepted, by user Zeru at the airport, they said my suitcase was 2 kilograms over the limit and wanted to charge me extra. So, right there in front of everyone, I opened my bag, layered up with 3 jackets, a hat and 2 pairs of sunglasses. Walked onto the plane looking like I was ready for a polar expedition. The other passengers couldn't stop laughing.